Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. New brewery time. The form of Gusto Brewing. This be their everyday balloons. Czech-Style Pilsner. Yeah, this comes courtesy of my boy Vinny. We hooked up, watched some soccer, drank some beers. He dropped some beers on me. He was just down Cape May area. These guys are from down in Cape May. Haven't had a ton of Cape May beers outside of Cape May, so kind of excited for that. And it's a Czech Pilsner, or style, sorry, Czech style Pilsner, fresh from North Cape May, New Jersey. What else we have on here? Gusto Brewing, North Cape May, Bayshore Road. 5 on the dot alcohol by volume, 16 fluid ounces. Yeah, it just like looks like water with some outlines of balloons. Tight. Tight. So Czech style pills, no date in the can here. Um, you know, brewer never heard of. I assume they're relatively small. They're all assumptions on my part, but we'll see where we land. Um, so yeah, label wise, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and kind of gush all over it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna hate on it either. A little bit of a kind of like a little photoshopping on some water, a little bit of vector graphics were done and done. As far as this beer goes, I mean, it looks the part of, hazy pills. What you're typically going to get from your craft brewery, that doesn't have all the bells and whistles and or the time to let this stuff drop out over time. You're typically going to get a little bit of haze like this. So it looks more like a hazy pale ale more than a pilsner, but you're talking about something Czech style. So we're assuming it's aggressively hopped with like a nobly middle for some along those lines, Zazie kind of hops. And it has just that soft yellow haze to it. White as white could be head. So, yes, it looks the part. Let's see if we can get a nose. Wow. That smells really good. A little bit more juicy than you typically expect from Czech-style pills. I'm getting this kind of like precursor pop to a nice kind of noble hop kind of bittering. Nothing too crazy, but I'm getting like a nice citrus melon kind of combination. Melon isn't out of the ordinary for a Czech-style pill. There's a decent citrus component in this sucker too. I don't think they call out really any kind of hops on this sucker. Say Czech-style Pilsner from New Jersey. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll look it up towards the end of the review. But I love how it smells. Does it smell like a Czech-style Pilsner to me? No, it comes off very much as an Americanized, American hopped Czech-style Pilsner, but it smells pretty damn good. Again, think kind of hazy pale ale vibes here when we're talking about the aromatics, not necessarily what you typically get off of Czech pills. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. I mean, honestly, it is tasty AF. It has just this nice kind of sweetness component, a little bit of like crackery, slightly toasted crackery malt, a punch of like a generic kind of bittering outside of these really beautiful citrusy stone fruity melony kind of hops. Definitely doesn't come off as a traditional Czech style pills. It has very much going on for it, more outside of what you typically get from those beers. Much more new school kind of hops, but it works really well in the beer. It's just it's sometimes you get hung up on the names, and I'm not that person to kind of really lean heavy into a BJCP guideline kind of thing. But man, when the hops come off like this, it's really hard to separate this from like a hazy pale ale or a small little pale lager. An Americanized version of that as opposed to a Czech style pils. The bittering is there. It actually comes off bittering size, pretty much what you'd expect from a Czech style pils. It just has this juicy, fruity kind of hoppiness on the other side of things you just typically don't get. I am not complaining. I think that's a really, really tasty bevy. But just keep that in mind when you're picking this up. Might be something a little bit more fruity, juicy than you expect based off of the title of the beer. If they said Czech style pale lager with Citra Waka and you know what I mean, then you'd be like, oh, okay, I know where I'm going here. But you see that Czech style pale, it just kind of gets you kind of thinking about traditional, where this one just doesn't lean there. Slightest, we're gonna get nitpicky here. Slightest bit, a little bit of diacetyl in there, just very, very, very minimal. It's not ruining this beer for me at all in any form or fashion. With how aggressively hopped this beer is, it kind of makes sense to have a little bit of what I assume is That's a little hop creep in there, but we're talking, I'm reaching here. I'm reaching for these negatives. I'm reaching for these flaws, but it's very, very, very minimal, but it's there. So, worth noting. It's not going to turn me off from drinking this whole beer, not by any stretch of the imagination. That's pretty much it. Pretty well executed. Even, like I said, like I was kind of alluding to, there's no date in this can, so I have no idea how old this can is. You tell me this can is a month old. Okay. The dazzle is probably part of the, maybe that touch, and we're talking toucher. I shouldn't really even kind of talk this much about it because I don't think it's that big of a part of the beer, but just trying to explain my thought process. Is that since there's no date in the can, if it's a month old, I'm assuming the dazzle comes from a slightly off brewing process. If this can is months old, it might be a hop creep thing. That is my kind of guess on that, just to give you a little bit more of an explanation. But outside of that, it's very well made. You have that little bit of touch, but I'm okay with it. The way the hops kind of shine on this, very, very fun. And it does have that Czech kind of Pilsner kind of base to it from a malt side of things and the hop bitterness side of things. Is it one of the better Czech Pils I've had? It's like, yeah. Is it Mount Rushmore status? No. It just that little tiny touch of acid keeps it out of there, but it's a very tasty bevy. Probably one of the funner Americanized versions of a Czech Pils I've had as of late. Value and availability on this sucker, I don't know. Vinny or anybody out there in the old YouTubes, if you know, please let me know and leave you with. If you like, what will you like this beer? If you like the Americanized version of Euro Pils, you'll love this. It just brings that old school base with that new school hopping. So if you dig on those two things, you'll dig this. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Down there, if you want to talk about it, Massive Beers. If you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massive, podcasting stuff, and yeah. Gusto. I forgot the name of the brewery for getting old. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had our beers? Have you had this beer? All that fun stuff down below. Let's talk about it. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you're drinking local right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers, y'all.